Stife. We did this.
Hello, hello, did you say? Talk to me, that we gon' have a good time. Hello, hello, did you say? Talk to me, that we gon' have a good time.
And then I go to Warsaw, Poland, 2 million people. It's cleaner, it's safer. If they can do it, we can do it. I don't know what the answer is, but it's accountability.
I always thought about like society. That's what a lot of Americans don't see because they haven't traveled.
Yeah.
But also it's like that's why crime is rampant in America because a lot of people just feel like there's no consequences.
That's huge. That's the number one thing. If there's no consequences, they're going to keep doing what they're going to keep doing. And that goes to accountability too.
And the community loses at the end because how many stores and shops have left San Francisco?
So many.
It totally affected us because a mutual friend of ours lost their job because that company just feels like San Francisco is not it for them anymore.
Yeah. You go into a CVS or you go into these places, and this happened all the time. The CEO just actually mentioned this, or certain Safeways in the city. You go in there, it's like everything's locked up. So it's going to take me 5 minutes to find somebody. They're going to have to unlock it. I literally just walked out. You go to Warsaw, Poland's amazing. They have these giant malls, huge, giant. You go into these places, you pick up like a $500 fragrance. Nothing's chained up. Nothing's locked up. It's not even part of their society. I'm sure there's like a percentage, but there's nothing locked up, nothing. And so I even heard the CEO said like, hey, us locking up everything actually deterred people who want to pay for it too.
Yeah.
Because it's a pain in the ass. It's like, I'm not going to bother with this. Like, you're assuming I'm going to sell something, and it's just like a bad experience all the way around too as well.
Yeah, because we're teaching people, our culture in America, hey, they don't need to earn it.
Yeah.
Like, there's some things in life that you just don't need. But if you're going to go around just like feeling like you don't need to earn it, it's a bad representation of moral character, you know? And then get a group of 15 of those.
Oh, yeah.
And it just creates like a negative impact on our society.
And it spirals. There's a psychological or sociological thing called the broken window effect. Have you heard that?
It sounds like
it's what you just described, right?
Yeah.
And so if you go in a neighborhood and you see one broken window, you immediately get a feeling about it. And then one broken window, it says, okay, it's okay to have broken windows here. And then if you see trash on the floor, oh, it's okay to have trash on the floor here.
Yeah. My biggest example, I live in San Jose.
Yeah.
I did not want to travel to San Francisco and Oakland for many years, windows being broken.
Yeah.
And if I'm one person, how many other people felt that way? You know, how much did that impact the city of Oakland, the city of San Francisco? Because, hey, some of my favorite restaurants and shops were in the city, those two cities. But if it's going to cost me more to get my window repaired.
I've literally have friends who I remember doing posts on Facebook. I'm done. I got my car broken in again. And it's like, it hurts the soul a little. Like you're living in your city, you're doing nothing, minding your own business, and you go back to your car and it's destroyed and your stuff is stolen.
Yeah. And you love the city, but you're like, I just have to leave the city. And it could be one of the brightest minds in that city. You know, it could be a big person that impacts the community, someone that really helps the community, but if they're negatively getting their soul crushed all the time, it's like they don't want to deal with that energy. It's like what you said, you got to eliminate what's not working for you.
eliminate. And the other thing I've had discussions with, a lot of business owners too, as well. They're not friendly to the business. I've seen things where certain businesses, they'll get vandalized. And then they'll get a letter from the city that says, if you don't paint over this by this date, now you're going to get fined.
It's so ridiculous.
Can you imagine being that business owner? My heart goes out to them, because especially if you have a brick and mortar business, I'm telling you, it's a warfare. You're competing with the economy. You're competing with the fear of people going out there. You're competing with so many different things. And now the city's giving you a headache for something they couldn't prevent that they should have prevented too as well. And I don't know what it is, but like that's one of the things that like really hurt me, is like seeing all these mom and pop businesses going out of business.
Yeah.
I've seen where they get robbed.
Yeah.
The city doesn't support them.
Of course not.
And it's like, if you don't have a thriving mom and pop business, it really messes with the culture of the city.
Yeah. For instance, like all these boutique sneaker shops.
Yeah.
Boutique clothing shops. Obviously, they're all privately owned. Could be just a young entrepreneur that has a passion for fashion.
Yeah.
So he puts all his money into it. Most of the time, they don't have the proper insurances, or the insurance is too high.
Yeah.
So they get a lower rate. And then their shop gets broken in 3-4 times, and then insurance says you're uninsurable.
Yeah.
And what if that sneaker shop was next to a deli, next to a coffee shop, next to a ramen shop?
Yeah.
So every time people go to that sneaker shop that's really popular, they're going to two or three other shops. That's why like these big box companies always open next door to each other.
Yeah.
They're not in competition.
Yeah.
It's just, it reminds people, hey, you don't always have to go to this shop.
Yeah.
You could go here.
Yeah.
And when that sneaker shop closes, those other 2-3 shops next door gets affected by it.
It's a chain reaction, man. It's a chain reaction. It's similar to if you go to a bar and it's like, oh, there's fights every time we go in that bar. It's like, I've been in enough fights. I don't need another fight.
Yeah.
Yet it creates this chain reaction. And then the city, I remember like during the glory days of San Francisco, even like during the .com era, it was so lively. You'd be on New Montgomery Street. It was so crowded. It was so alive. And you saw homeless people, and like, you should have compassion for them. My compassion goes out the window if you're violent, or if you're putting like women or kids fearful. That's when the compassion goes out the window. Because like, I think everyone goes, those aren't mentally healthy people. But again, there needs to be barriers. You can't affect the family that just wants to have a good time.
Yeah.
But I miss those days. I think I've seen it a little bit more, San Francisco, a little bit more lively, like going out, like I see a little bit more. But I remember during the .com era, it was so lively. .coms everywhere, people walking the streets. It was so lively. I think it's going to take like 10 years to get back to that, at least, if it ever comes back, you know?
I don't think it is.
Unfortunately, I don't think it is, especially with all the work from home. I have friends that have like permanent work from home. I see them on Instagram. They haven't been in the States in like 3 months. Why would they, when they can go to a safer country with some beautiful women and they can spend their American dollars over there and live like kings?
Yeah. Are they're family based? They could take their families and say, hey, let's live in a place where the culture and the values are more appropriate for raising families.
It's so funny. I remember like hearing early on, like some leaders talking about values. I'm like, now it's actually, the older I get, values is like really important.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you can walk down the street and if you have a flat tire, there's 3 or 4 people that'll come and help you.
I just did that. Someone had a flat tire in a parking lot. I was going to go eat some soup. And I have a little electric tire pump that always saves me. And then I was like, hey, do you need a pump? Or you have a flat tire? They're like, yes. And they were poor English speaking family. And fortunately, it didn't work out because their tire was like slashed on the wrong part.
Yeah.
But me gesturing to help them, I know it made their night. I even gave them some Gatorades, you know? And they offered me money, and I was like, no, I'm not going to take your money. But more of that needs to come back. That community and helping each other without fear of something bad happening to yourself.
Yeah. And that fear is there. And that's one of the other reasons I love travel, because it does give me hope with humanity.
Yeah.
Because I've been in some sticky situations, and there's been like one or two people that has like really helped us out. And like genuinely, you could tell they were caring people too. It's just small things. I remember being in Portugal and I was eating, and my utensil fell on the ground. And as it falls on the ground, the guy knocks on the window and in Portuguese basically said, hey, bring this gentleman a new utensil. This guy didn't work there. He was just like a regular person there. I was like, he didn't have to do that. It was just like a genuine, like, hey, you're in my town, let me take care of you. And like, I always have that memory too.
Yeah.
I know I've been in situations where I've been lost. And this is like back in the day when the maps weren't that great, or like something's dead, and somebody genuinely like saying, I remember being in Prague. Here's another one, being in Prague. Prague is amazing. Everyone should go to Prague. It's like the adult Disneyland. I think that's where the guy who started Disneyland, Walt Disney, got the idea from Disneyland.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when you walk in Prague, you feel like you're actually in Disneyland because there's castles, there's...
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
And then I remember I had my wallet here, and I remember this woman just like, putting her hand on me and says, hey, I could see your wallet. You need to put it away because this is where they take people's tourists' money. And she was like very kind about it too as well. And she had her kid there. She had her kid there too, like in a stroller. So it wasn't just like a single woman but like that caring, just hand on my shoulder and be like, hey, and I was like, I've been in those situations where I'm like, oh, there's actually really kind people around the world. And so that's part of the other reasons I love traveling too, because it gives me hope and humanity again. Because some of the stuff we see in San Francisco or Oakland or California, it's like, oh man. But then you go around the world, there's a lot of kind people out there. And it's a reminder too.
I think it's just we have a lot of fixing in America. There was a report that America is the 24th happiest country in the world. And number one is Finland.
Finland. I've been to Finland.
Okay. Are they happy?
I would say they're happier, but and I was in Helsinki. I would say they're happier, but it's a different type of happy, at least in my experience. Mm-hmm. It's like this general happiness inside. It doesn't necessarily go up like a cheerful happy. I only spent like 4 or 5 days there. So
I have something to say about Finland.
I'm interested in what you would say about Finland, your experience.
They have the best customer service in the world.
They had great customer service.
Because I'm here in America and I bought my monitors, my audio monitors that I listen to my music with from a company called Amphion.
Yeah.
And they're seriously the best customer service in the world. They're shipping the part, one part kept breaking.
Yeah.
And they sent over the replacement part 4 times, all the way from Helsinki. They probably spent more on shipping and they're like, it keeps breaking. That's not the problem. And they asked me what outs did I own or what's connected.
Yeah.
And they had me kind of pick something up. And I'm like, there's something loose in this. They're like, oh, can you ship that back to us? I didn't pay for the shipping. They sent me an invoice, shipping internationally, UPS 2-day was expensive. And then they fixed it, they shipped it back, never had a problem ever since.
Isn't that amazing?
And try to do that with a company here, and they're like, oh, you got to pay for shipping, you got to do this.
There's no heart and soul. I remember actually.
So shout out to Finland.
Yeah, no, like they're happy. Trust me. The other thing I noticed about Helsinki and Finland and even other places in the world, this is just my observation. You go to a certain job, maybe it's a menial job. And I think everyone should be respected. That's not where I'm going with this. But I'll notice if I go to Finland, it doesn't matter what level of job or what position, there's like some soul behind it. There's like an actual caring person.
Yeah.
And you don't always get that in the States. You'll go to maybe a fast food restaurant and, there's no judgment here. It's just, I'm discerning. And it's like a transactional, soulless thing that happens. I go to Helsinki, any place I went to, there was just eye contact, talking. They actually seemed interested. And I thought to myself, oh, wow, they actually are happier.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another reason that's probably because they just don't identify with their job. And if maybe they have this level of job, they still have, because one of the things I know about Finland, and I think those countries, they have a lot of friends, like their friend groups.
Yeah.
A lot of friend groups. Like, so you're not just getting your fulfillment from your job, you're getting it from your friends, your family, from all these different things. What's pretty cool is I think most of them speak multiple languages, which is amazing too. So I love Finland, but that's the other thing I noticed. Even like going to Spain, going to Portugal, you go to Spain or Portugal, and you go in this mom and pop spot or this place that might be corporate. I was in Warsaw. You go to some of these corporate places, even the people behind the register or making the food, they have personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's actually an enjoyable thing going on. And then in the States, it's like, wow, that's not pleasant.
Yeah. It's like going to the Philippines and you go to a restaurant, they're like, thank you, mom, sir.
Oh, dude, Filipino people are amazing. Like,
but like you go to some of these places in America, they're so unhappy to be there.
It's so unhappy.
But that's why I said, if you're so unhappy to be there, find a different job.
Yeah, yeah. And I think even all the jobs I had, I always did it with pride.
You have to.
Always did it with pride because I felt it was like effing disrespectful to my mom who came from El Salvador, disrespect to my father from India. My dad used to tell me stories when he first came to San Francisco. He was couch surfing, had no place to stay, basically homeless. And he had like $1.50.
Hey, my mom came here with 2 suitcases and 4 kids.
Jeez.
She left an American dollar paying job in the Philippines.
Wow.
And so we were like middle class, well off from what I know because I was so young.
Yeah. How old were you?
I immigrated when I was 4.
Wow.
She worked for the Air Force Base. So she got decent wages,
Yeah.
But she came here, wanted to start a new life. She wanted to actually give her kids the United States American dream, which a lot of immigrant kids take for granted, but the first generation immigrant parents went through to get their kids here. I hear stories about refugees. They went on boat. They couch surf.
Yeah.
Worked minimum wage jobs.
Yeah.
Just so their kids could be here.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of immigrant kids still have this respect. Because of what our parents went through. Like my mom is no longer with us, but I think about her and what she went through. So yeah, it would be disrespectful if I was just a fuck up. It would be disrespectful if I didn't have compassion, like, because she cared about everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think about that all the time. Like, it's like paying honor to her, you know?
Dude, I so relate that. It's playing honor, and it's like a sense of duty. Like I get goose chills about it. Like my father, I mean, he told me stories, Chris, I came over here, I got one job, then I found out you can get two jobs. He literally said that to me. He's like, dude, you can get a second job. And then I would do some school classes during the day, and then you can go to school at night. And there's some stereotypes that are true, right? Especially for immigrants, but even for like, he's from Gujarat. We have some mutual friends who are from Gujarat. I've never seen a work ethic like this man.
Yeah.
This man, most Americans stop when they're tired. This man stops when he's done. I saw a next level work ethic. And this guy, I probably learned some sales from my dad because he was like one of the most charismatic guys I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Like instantly likable by everybody. It doesn't matter, like any girlfriend I had, like loved him. Any person that's ever met him throughout his life, just a joyful, caring man. And like what this guy went through and like the hard work he did was insane. I would see this guy work, and it was just a different work ethic, man. Like a machine, just doing stuff that would tire me out just by watching him. And then the mom from El Salvador. So like, I completely relate to what you said. It's like, you're doing a disservice and dishonor to our parents who left. He came on a boat.
Yes.
And, my mom traveled too. I'm like, I have to, it's disrespectful for them not to have that work ethic.
Yeah, we were a family of 5 in a 1-bedroom apartment. We were poor here.
Yeah.
We slept wherever there was a mattress, whether it was a couch cushion, uh, uh, on the floor. We just figured it out. Like,
Yeah.
I have this weird, maybe childhood trauma of what I ate as a kid. And sometimes I still need to eat it as an adult just because it's comforting to me. And a lot of Asians are going to relate to this. It's fucking Vienna sausage.
Vienna sausage?
I need to eat like Vienna sausage with some rice and soy sauce one time because as a kid, that was what we had.
It's the inner child.
It's that inner child.
Yeah.
I could eat at a high-end restaurant, and then the next day I'm craving goddamn Vienna sausage.
Wow. Yeah.
And maybe because my mom's not here, but it just reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah. The home.
That factor, and it's, I don't know. It's just like, I wish everyone had a little bit of pain and suffering in their life.
Yeah.
Because when they do figure out life, they have those core values. And Chen Sin Wang was really right when he said this at Stanford commencement, that he wishes pain and suffering on this graduating class.
So that.
And right now, there is a lot of pain and suffering in CS.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like, a lot of these students never had pain and suffering. Now they're going to go into this real world. And hopefully they experience it for a couple of years and grow a backbone.
Dude, pain and suffering, because it battle tests, it makes you battle tested.
Yeah.
I think there's like some quote, it's like, the tree can't grow into heaven unless it has its roots in hell.
Yeah.
And so being battle tested and knowing you can get through it too as well is huge, because what I see, and I think this is the first generation where this generation's handshake is weaker than the previous generation's handshake. The actual grip of this, and that actually, going back to my fitness background.
Why is that?
It's a really good question. I think there's a book. I've read a little bit, but there's a book called The Coddling of the American Child, or The Coddling of the American
I know the physical education standards are not the same as when we were probably going through PE.
So that's a huge one. It's that. What he said is like, it's the no physical activity because kids are trapped in their head. Especially like guys, at least for me, I was kicked out of every school. I couldn't sit still. I needed to run that energy off.
Yeah.
The other things he says, and there's a direct correlation, is all these safe spots, the safe zones. When you and I grow up, all my friends, we all made fun of each other.
Yeah, we were capping on each other.
We're capping all the time.
Like I grew up on the "you so fat," blah blah blah. Your mama's so thick. You're so skinny. You're so ugly. I loved it.
Loved it.
Once I understood that it wasn't personal, it was just like we're just making fun of each other, joking, and then we could be friends at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I got good at it.
Yeah.
And then that's who you started realizing who your friends were. Like I'm not saying, okay, that could be a form of bullying, but it was a form of, it was just what kids did back then. And kids actually defended themselves.
Yeah.
And you would go up, hey, like the first time someone told me, I'm like, why are they telling me I'm so fat when I'm this stick figure? They're like, oh, no. It's just some jokes. They're like, why are they telling me I'm so ugly, but this girl likes me? I'm like, no, because I was in elementary school. I didn't understand. I was still kind of assimilating to the American culture, but I'm glad I did grow up in that era.
1000%. Like we all made fun of each other. We all made fun of each other's races. We all did. And that's how we bonded.
Yeah.
And because it was done in love. It was actually done in like as a joking thing in love. And it wasn't this like I'm offended stuff. It was,
so do you think America's too censored right now?
We're too fragile. There's no armor. And you see kids. So I think they have some advantages over us. Like they have the internet. They have this wide array of information at their fingertips. But what they don't have is what we had. You probably did the same thing. I went to school and I was out all day and I didn't come home till the lights on the streets came on.
Oh yeah, I played at the damn park. I probably had 4 different sweat stains on me.
Yeah.
Because I would go leave at 8 a.m., play hoop for 2 hours. Like, then we would go to the one person's house, have a refreshment. We go back to the park, I ride a bike. Then we go to the next person's house, did the same thing. Then we would end up at where I lived. And then by the time we all smelled.
Yeah.
We all were crusty.
Yeah.
But man, like we learned how to be outside, how to have friends. I think right now the society is too inside, too in the internet. And it's just like, it's scary because it's like people don't know how to interact. And then when they have confrontation, they don't even know how to interact.
Yeah, they don't know how to resolve and the other thing we learned when we did that, we learned how to be self-efficient and solve problems.
Yeah, we learned how to problem solve. We learned how to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when we probably grew up, there was like a tense moment all the time.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to fight every day. So we had to figure out how to de-escalate. But this new generation doesn't know how to de-escalate.
It doesn't know how to de-escalate, and it doesn't know how to have, because some conflict is needed and some conflict is just going to happen.
Yeah.
And even me, like I'm not proud of it, but I've been in a decent amount of fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've won a bunch. I've lost a bunch.
Yeah.
I've been jumped by groups. Like I've seen violence, right? And what did that teach me? It teaches, especially I think for men, there's a certain line that you don't cross.
Yeah.
Because you F around and find out.
Yeah.
And I think that this generation has like this. I think every dude should know what it feels like to be punched in the face.
100% agree.
Because you learn that there's certain barriers that you cannot cross. And if you never learn that lesson, you grow up older in life, you learn it in a way that you can possibly never come back from. And it actually teaches you humbleness and respect too. I could still think back to the times where I've been in fights where I was like, oh yeah, I deserve to be punched. Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah. And
100%.
that makes you self-aware.
Yeah.
Same with like, yeah, that's why that girl doesn't talk to me anymore. Like, I just can't do shit like that.
Yeah.
Or like, I was a dog. Like, yeah, you know, like I was a dick.
Yeah.
If you can be self-aware of situations, it's just gonna make you a better person.
Yeah.
Like, if you can talk shit to yourself,
yeah,
it's gonna just make you better. Like, but if you have this narcissistic attitude about yourself, I can't do no wrong.
Oh, dude, you're gonna fall. You're gonna fall hard.
And when you end up crashing out,
Yeah.
like, no one's gonna want to be around you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it's that humbleness. And so
I think that's why, like, I recently met you.
yeah.
Like, that's why, like, I befriended you because, like, we do different things, but our life paths are pretty similar.
Yeah, there's similar stuff there too. The immigrant stuff. And I think when
I really get along with immigrants, by the way.
I love immigrants too. Like, I love everyone, but there's a certain thing of immigrants and like first generations where there's a certain pride. And I even had a discussion with a few people that we both know when they went back to India, and they were like, wow, this is what my life could have been like if my parents didn't come over.
Yeah, when I went to the Philippines, I'm like, oh, like, I could still be here making $6 a week.
It's so crazy.
Working 40 hours.
Yeah. And that's like a lot of my friends have that mentality. It's either they travel around the world, they have passports, they're immigrants, or they're kids of immigrants too, because I love that worldly. It shocks my brain.
I noticed that people that are more traveled are just overall better people.
They are.
It's because, like you said, they're seeing life beyond the States.
Yeah.
And that could be an analogy of how you could live life. If you don't have the means to travel beyond the States, you can travel beyond your city.
Yeah.
Like, for many years, I didn't want to leave San Jose. And when I started exploring San Francisco, like, recently I just started going back to the city and I met this whole new network.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy. It changed my life.
It's, I could really,
45 minutes away traveling changed my life. And even though I'm not crossing international borders, just driving up and down 101, 280 has changed my life recently. And that could be for anyone if you're stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
Just get away from your perimeter.
Yeah.
And you could get new perspectives, new networking, new people, like people that could have their big impact in your life with minimal effort.
That's like, I think that's what it's all about there. I think somebody asked me recently, what's the most important thing to you? You know, I think we're talking mostly about business and stuff, or was it money? Was it this? I was like, you know what? It's the hunt, the exploration of new people, new energy, new, what I call like portals, right? Like even the mutual people we meet, like you meet one person that introduces you to another person and you're in this new adventure. You're in this new story.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what just happened with us. We had 2 to 3 friend groups that kind of all became Voltron.
Dude, it's literally Voltron gives back memories. Oh, that goosebump. It was like, yeah, it's true. These groups became Voltron, And we all have these conversations. It's like, oh my God, he's so cool. She's so cool. This is amazing. Like, how can we help?
But we all add value to each other's life.
Yeah.
You do this, you do this, you do this. Almost everyone in our group does something.
Yes, that's why it's so cool too. That's the great part I love.
And that's what people should look for, is having those type of friend groups where it's not parasitic, it's symbiotic.
Yes. No, I want to be the guy where a buddy gets his new girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
I want to be the dude where I help set up the business with the person. Yeah. And I get nothing in return. Yeah. Literally just like, what can I do to help you? Because there's a certain joy to that. Because I think that's the part of the passion of life. I need to be engaged and I need this thing going. And it can't just be transactional to me. Like even this conversation like energizes me too. It makes me want to like travel, makes me want to travel with you, makes me want to take you places too. And that's the joy. So I answered that person's question. It's like, it's the exploration.
Like I learned I need to learn more about sales.
Yeah.
I need to learn more about this and this and this. Like even 5%, like I recently went on my YouTube journey.
Yeah.
I started last summer, basically, our last summer, that I wanted to become like a YouTube partner. And in 3 short months, I did it. I probably could have done it faster, but I did it.
It's did.
And now it's one of the biggest things I'm continuing to work for. Like, how can the next 3 months increase my subscriber rate, increase my content? And I'm just learning how to be more efficient.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just reminded me, like, even if a 5% push is what is needed to the next step, that's a simple win versus, oh, I got to double everything. 5%.
Oh, dude, 5% can change. It can get you across this one line and it gets you to this melting point. Yeah. It's like an ice cube. And it's like, oh, it's starting to melt now. It's starting to happen now. And that's even you talking about sales is like, I would love to have these conversations with you. It could be, there's things in my sales where I just picked up one little principle.
Exactly.
And it shifted because I think sales is great, but you also have to embody it with your own soul and your own energy. And that's part of it too, is like, all right, here's a new principle, here's a new technique, here's a new whatever, but really embodying it with your soul and like owning it and internalizing it.
Yeah.
And then once you internalizing it, seeing it work wonders and really helping people. So like, I'm excited about having those conversations with you because even some of the things you'll say, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember going through that too as well.
Someone told me if you're learning a new skill, and I'm going to end our conversation on this.
Yeah.
Is if you just do it for 18 minutes a day, whether it's picking up piano, video editing, boxing, karate, just do it for 18 minutes a day. By the end of 1 year, you'll be better than 95% of the world.
Yeah.
If 18 minutes a day can change your life, and if you really are serious about learning a new skill, that's doable.
Yeah.
18 minutes of fitness a day could change someone's life.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a small number, and it's such a number that is achievable. Oh, I don't need to practice for two hours, which is 120 minutes. It's just 15 minutes. Some people spend that on the toilet every morning.
That's your screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trade your screen time on practicing a skill.
Yeah. Let's practice our skills, brother.
All right. All right. We're done.
All right.